Hey guys, here, and this time, as you can see by the title, this is like the first time I've done one of these. It's like a review, but since Ippo is so long, it's like 1,300 chapters. I kind of wanted to do like, since I'm already like a bit more than halfway, I want to just talk about my first not first impressions. Since I'm like what 700 chapters in, but like what I think about the series so far and everything like that. Now originally I was gonna do a weekly review. But as usual, after reading all the chapters of this week, I have literally nothing to talk about except for like 2 minutes of stuff. I don't want to upload a 2-minute video. So for now, I'm just uploading this, and then I think next I'll probably just try to read like a shorter series, rather like Memories of Eminon or something, just to get something out there for y'all in the meantime, since I'm not gonna finish Ippo anytime soon. I do have the video planned for the 100 subscribers, but one, I haven't finished editing it, mainly because I'm just taking my time. And two, I haven't gotten to that point yet, so I can't really upload it if I wanted to. Yeah, that's basically it. I'm gonna just get straight into it. I am gonna do this a bit differently though. Normally I do like story and characters and everything and then everything else. This time I'm just gonna talk about everything I like about the series and then everything I dislike. Now it's more on the I like more things about the series than I dislike, but there are some things I still dislike about the series. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. So the first thing I really like about this series, and probably one of its best aspects, is the cast. Now the cast in this series runs so deep that, for example, my top 5 characters still includes yes, a bunch of good characters, but also for example, my number 6 spot, which as of right now is Volg or Vorg, whatever you want to call him. I've seen a lot of people having him as his favorite character. And that's not me just having like a weird, list or anything. Right? You could consider it weird, I don't care. It's just that there's so many good characters in the series that can be someone's favorite. For example, my favorite character is Sendo, but I've seen a lot of people have Takamura as their favorite character of all time. Also, since it's all time, it's also in the series. I've also seen people have Ippo, although Ippo is probably the least common favorite character I've seen in the series. He's generally high up there though. My personal favorite is Sendo. I've seen a few people with Volg or Vorg as well. So personally, I just really love how deep the cast goes. There is a problem I have with it, which I'll mention later on. But yeah, the next thing I really like about this series is how well it portrays boxing. Because for example, me, I've never seen a single full-on boxing match. I think I watched one that was 5 or 6 years ago, and I didn't have an idea what was going on. So I really don't have any experience with boxing. But now, since I've read Ippo, then again I have read some other boxing mangas as well, like Rikudo and Joe, which I dropped. But I've read those other mangas, so I would like to say I have a better idea of boxing than I did before. But still, the way Ippo portrays how much passion goes into boxing, and the depth of how deep you can go into boxing, how many new techniques and the nuances. I've never seen another series do something similar to that in any sport in general, right? Ippo has so many different techniques, so many different nuances to each technique and everything that it just feels so good. Another thing that I find phenomenal about the series is the art. Now listen, the art by itself, right, it's a lot of detail, it's great. My favorite thing about the art though, it's not the facial expressions or how detailed it is. It's how well motion is portrayed and how much a punch looks like it hurts. Some of the panels that you'll see in this series, they'll just hurt to watch because you'll see this character bend by how hard, for example, Ippo punches them, and it just looks like they're getting impaled. The series portrays it so well that getting punched, getting say a body blow by Ippo, feels like it hurts so much more than say, for example, getting a hole punch through your chest like some other characters, right? And I know obviously, getting a hole punch through your chest is gonna hurt more. If anything, it's gonna kill you. It's just that the way they make every punch hurt is just great. One of the best examples of this is in their not the most recent fight, but one of the more recent fights I read lately, which is Chaos. A fight that was just, as the name mentions, complete another chaos. And not only is this because, the amount of, the insane amount of fouls there were, but also at the same time, it's for example, there's one panel which I really loved, right? And it's just the motion in general, right? One guy went to do a normal punch, and then he just went to do a backhand instead, at the last second. After he made the punch, it stopped and he did the backhand, and it still looked like it just absolutely hurt and just destroyed his face. Of course, it didn't kill him, but still, every punch just feels like it hurts, which is what I feel like a boxing manga needs to have, right? Some of the other boxing mangas I've read, Rikudo and Joe, yes, some of the things look like they hurt, but it's nowhere near as on the same level as what Morikawa does with them. Another thing, obviously the story. I feel like for the most part there are some great scenes. Now I do have some complaints with the story, which I'll get into later, but for the most part I'm just happy with how it goes. Lastly, and probably my favorite part about the series is the fights. Now, it's a boxing manga. Of course, you're going to have some great fights and some great scenes. Personally, my favorite fight, like my top two, is probably Ippo versus Sendo 2. And then, first of all, my favorite fight in fiction ever, Ippo versus Sendo 2. Just the Lollapalooza, whatever you want to call it. It was just phenomenal from start to end. The build-up is amazing. The whole fight in general is amazing. The ending's great. I think after that probably be Takamura versus Hawk. I'd have to think about it, though. It's just that I love that fight so much. And all the fights in this series are great. They all have their own aspect, right? Maybe it's like a battle of speed. Maybe it's a battle of just like complete and utter fouls. Maybe it's just, street fighting basically. Every fight, you'd think that it would get boring, but it doesn't. I don't know how he does it. It just always feels fresh and new. And this is also due to the fact that, like, as I mentioned earlier, boxing runs so deep that each character has their own signature moves that, have this whole detail. You completely understand how they work. But at the same time, the author doesn't also make it seem like any normal person can do it. They also still look difficult to master, and they still pack a punch, but they also, seem easy to understand on how they work. And I feel like he's just by himself in that aspect, and also in how, like in the way he portrays motion and just how much something can hurt. Those things are great. Now, as for the stuff I'm not really the biggest fan of, I know this is kind of sudden, but as I mentioned earlier, my main problem with the cast isn't even like there's some characters I don't like. Like, sure, Aoki and Kimura, at the moment, right, as of the chapter I'm at right now, they feel like completely fodder. They don't really serve a purpose besides maybe the occasional insight, and then besides that, just comedic relief without comedic relief. Now, I don't mind a comedic relief character and all that, but at the same time, these are people who are dedicating their life to boxing. They should at least feel like they have some kind of importance or something like that, right? They shouldn't just be comedic relief. And especially since, later on, supposedly, the characters get more importance, but it's hard to believe that when all their fights so far have been not only boring, except Kimura, he had one really good fight, but almost all their fights have been just not only boring, but they're just like gag fights, right? And this always happens before, like, a world title too, which makes it even worse. And to top it all off, right, they draw against what they portray to be fodder, and then they draw against that same fodder again the next time they fight. Like, I just feel like the way, like, I understand, having a gag character, you can't make every single character great, but if you're gonna make a character be bad at boxing, at least make it, like, feel like they're trying it. Like, yes, they're trying, but, at least don't make it seem like they're just gags, right? You can't really take them too seriously. Because, again, all their fights aren't, you can't take them seriously, since almost all of them are just, like, jokes or gags. And the only reason it isn't all of them is because of Kimura versus Mashiba, which is probably the only very serious fight that you can, like, actually take into account when you say, oh, yeah, they have some good fights. As of right now, right, that's at chapter 725 is when I'm at. It could change later on. I've been told it does, but that's just right now. The other problem I have with the cast is how little some characters show up, or, like, how some characters are, like, super important in the beginning and just disappear for millions of chapters, right? The biggest example of this, and this is obviously, some bias because he's my favorite character, but Sendo, I'm pretty sure he hasn't had a relevant or, like, major fight since the Lollapalooza, and that was, like, what, 300 chapters ago? Like, yeah, he had one fight just now, but that fight didn't even get past the first round. That was just him knocking the guy out, and it wasn't even taken too seriously. And as I've been told, like, the serious fights he gets are, like, in 500 chapters? So it's hard to believe that, like, almost 1,000 chapters after his last relevant fight, he gets another, like, time to be focused on. Like, I think the only times he's been shown on screen are the one hype up Hoshi, whatever guy, the guy who's his junior, and then also to, like, mention Sawamura, which, aren't really the most relevant things to go after. Like, I feel like, especially with the character that was originally going to be the last fight in the series, you'd expect him to, have at least some more time dedicated to him. There's also, Borg, who just barely shows up as of right now. I understand, right? Don't get me wrong, I understand there's side characters. You can't have them show up as much as the main character or, the main side cast. But still, it wouldn't hurt to see, like, I guess, like, a major, maybe not even a major fight, but at least them, having a fight every, 100 chapters or something, to keep them relevant. Because if not, it's hard to like, you know, really like a character when he shows up like once every 600 chapters. It's not really, you know, not my favorite thing. As for the other thing I don't really like, it's more about like, I guess it could be considered the characters, but it's more about like their story and how they set up things. It's like the way he teases us, and like I don't mind like, an author teasing us. It just feels so cheated. Like first of all, I'm gonna spoil some, let's like skip ahead like 10 seconds. But like the way, first of all, there's the whole Miyata versus Ippo thing, right? Where after like 500,000 chapters, we're finally gonna get their fight. And then all of a sudden, without any explanation or warning or foreshadowing or anything, like yes, it's the foreshadowing, oh they're not fair to me, but still, you know, without any like warning, we just don't get the fight, and I just feel so cheated out of that, because that's first of all Ippo's whole goal. And I understand him not getting the fight built his character a bit, but still I want to see that fight since it's like what the series has been building up to. It's like the main goal of Ippo. Also, another example of this is Sawamura getting in a car accident right after getting the title. That's I just you don't understand how much that annoyed me, right? Like I'm interested in how this more heel character, by the way, for those who don't know. A heel is just like a wrestling term for a villain. Anyways, I'm more interested in how this villain character, this heel character, is gonna handle having the title and everything like that. Is he gonna get disqualified right after anything like that? Like I've been told, okay, that's to make up and, you know, have Kimura have a chance, but I just don't. I'm not. First of all, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not interested in Kimura because all of his fights are just gags, and yeah, it's just I'm much more interested in Mashiba and Sawamura, who had to retire sadly. Now I understand that was a lot more than 10 seconds, but for those who had to like skip it because, you know, they want to avoid spoilers, because I'm trying to keep this spoiler free. Basically what I'm trying to say is that the author, to me personally, there are times where I feel cheated out of a fight just for some random reason the author has. Now don't get me wrong, right? It sounds like I'm complaining about the series a lot, but I'm not saying I could write a better series than Morikawa, but it's manga's still great. I'll give my final rating not final, but yeah, my rating so far at the end. But it's just I have those two or three complaints that are commonly occurring. And again, the whole character's not showing up enough. I understand that. And it's not a flaw about the series, it's just, you know, something I would like change, especially since I'm a Sendo like, fan and we just don't get chapters of him ever basically. And even when they are chapters with him, they're like chapters that are kind of irrelevant, right? But yeah, that's basically it. This is literally not even the author's fault, but like the site I'm using also sometimes just decides to have bad scans, and like they promote their own site, but that's not even the author's fault, so I can't complain. That is basically it though. As for the series, I'd probably give it so far a 9. Now whether or not it's in my top 10, I'd have to think about it. Is it in my top 10? Probably. I have to think about it. Will it be in my top 10? Most likely, for sure. But yeah, so for those wondering like what's coming up, like when it comes to like what video I'm gonna do next, I'll probably read Memories of Eminon, which is like 9 chapters, just to, you know, get a video out for y'all in the meantime. Or I might do a tier list. I don't know how to think about it. So yeah, that's basically it for the video. If you like the video, let me know if you're down below. Remember, subscribe so we can get to the 100 subs so I can release that. Plus, I have other things planned, so I appreciate it a lot. And again, it helps the channel a lot, helps me a lot, it really motivates me. So yeah, that's it for the video. If you liked it, let me know what you thought down below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and peace.